know what it is. So hold up, let's slow down, because we got to celebrate that exceptional yes. You know, for potential growth here. So is it to feed something? So if it ain't sacrifice, yo, that's a good question. If it ain't sacrifice, is it to feed something? Let's ask. Good question. I'm almost afraid to ask that though. That means it could be, oh my God. What are we getting involved with? All right, hold on, let me slow down. Me and a viewer by the name of Varium Gray rolled up two strangers because today we would be delving deep into a mysterious tomb that we would come to learn as a sinister and dark history tied to an ancient civilization. One thing to keep in mind, rolling your stranger is mostly random, but luckily, Varium Gray's first stranger would hold the key to our survival in his brain. Now, I'm gonna roll 3 pairs of descriptions, and using that, you're going to determine what you look like. We have judgmentally extravagant, loosely petite, innocently faded, judgmentally extravagant. Yeah, I can see that. Maybe some kind of an outcast, wasted away, wanderer type. Bet. Wasted wanderer. Are you definitely going with prime speaker, prime dawn? Was I hitting on the head with the dawn? I'll go with speaker dawn. Okay. Where are you drawing dawn from? Is it what I said, like referring to the past? Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Referring to the past, the beginning of things. Okay. Speaker Dawn, a notable wandering outcast and an expired shadow of the royal aristocrat they once were, approaches the ancient door. Speaker Dawn's attire was lightweight, a little worn, but you could see an effort was made, a little noble's touch. Speaker Dawn strikes and anchors their staff into the sand below, then admires the architecture, which was a sight to behold, having only seen doors like this in history books. First ability? Climbing. I can see climbing being useful, wandering far from home, seeking tall places to get bearings. Yeah, and think of the region that we're in right now. Lots of mountains. Sand City, Mafrafarul has some really tall buildings, to your point. History. Whoa, that's a good one. That's a good one. And that's going to be interesting because, you know, we are world building in first person. Right? We are world building in first person. So when you encounter something, we are going to roll to see if maybe you recall or know about this or remember a little bit more than the average person about certain things. And that's kind of how we'll justify the history. And, you know, for role playing sake, I would even encourage you to narrow it down. Because, the more you narrow it down, the more you can justify having a higher chance of, if it's a specific area of history. I know the history of politics or cultures, or I think history based on settlements, nomadic peoples, that kind of thing, like instinctively knowing my way around geographically and maybe culturally. Yeah. That definitely justifies history is pretty vague, and all that is under that umbrella for certain. Exactly. I want it to be like an amnesia breakthrough, and that's the best way to go about it if we're going to do it in first person. You know, I don't know if you've seen some of the character creation for the last two characters, the last two strangers, but when they find something, they recall, you know, once they picked it up, they remembered, oh, I'm good with this weapon, you know. That's how we're going to go about it, unless anything changes, but it's going to be an amnesia thing. One of the biggest mysteries of us is, you know, we're coming out of nowhere. Where our race is shrouded in mystery, and we're all amnesiacs, and that can change. This is going to be an ongoing story that's going to develop, and we're going to build it as we go. That's right. You may have heard me mention this in the past, but the plot concept has become even more clear to me. As strangers, we are, ironically enough, much more familiar to this world than we think. As we explore the Meta Black, we will learn things, as well as remember old things that come into play when it serves the plot. In the example of Speaker Dawn's history ability, and their knowledge of cultures, settlements, etc., when rolling knowledge checks on discoveries, a successful result would play out as if Speaker Dawn is recalling to mind what they know about the topic in question. So, as strangers with severe amnesia, we will naturally be reintegrated into this world through almost sort of a rehabilitation process through the experiences that we have.
It's my turn!
Description: mockingly lovely. Mockingly / lovely. Swiftly / fancy. Oh, that's dope. I like that. And quaintly / interesting. Nimble, stylish, and interesting. I almost feel like this person should be very closely related to your person.
We're brothers, we're happy and we're singing and we're strangers.
My first ability, intimidation. Nimble, stylish, and eccentric. Stylish and eccentric. I'm stylish in a way that I probably dress very intimidating. Like, I probably look like a villain. I probably dress like sorcerer, like a sorcerer Ultimecia. Where people go, ooh, he's creepy. And then I'm eccentric on top of that. So I probably act weird and look crazy. I probably look evil or something. I look intimidating. Maybe not even intimidating from a fearful standpoint, but an off-putting standpoint. Intimidation. I like that. I'm gonna keep that. I'm gonna keep intimidation. My second skill, athletic. You know, with being athletic, you know, that gives me a nice foundation to build on. So if I did eventually want to get better at a certain skill, that athleticism is going to contribute to the growth of these types of skills, you know? If I re-roll this and it's trash, I'm going to be mad. I get 2 re-rolls though. I still have 2 left. I'm going to re-roll it. Weather sense. No. Weather sense. That's some shamanism type stuff. That's not going to help me at all. I mean, yeah, it could help me, but damn, I should have kept athleticism.
Damn it.
All right, I'm gonna re-roll this. Right. I'm gonna re-roll it. Oh, that means this has to be good. Oh man, I should have kept athletics. All right, here we go. This is my last re-roll, and I gotta keep it. Here we go. Oh, artistic ability. I'm some kind of merchant, man. Like, maybe I want to go to different places so I can paint things and draw inspiration from the places I've visited, and maybe sell it. You know, sell it for a good price. Intimidate people into buying it. I'll make the best of it. That's what this is all about, right? Do you know what you want your epithet is yet? I'm trying to think of mine now. Intimidation, artistic ability. I'm nimble, stylish, and eccentric. I'm going to go with Grim View. Grim, Grim, View. Grim View. I'm thinking this person's very emo and stylish. I probably dress in dark. I probably, I picture me having like a Varium Gray says, I'm thinking speaker, something prime speaker, speaker dawn. Prime speaker, speaker dawn, prime speaker, speaker dawn. Yeah, I see what you're saying, because you've been, you're kind of pulling from the history aspects, and you've been there from the beginning, the back when things were in its prime, from the early times of the dawn, and you're speaking on these things, or are capable of speaking on these things. As far as Grim View, I have I'm a very dark person, and maybe when I do draw inspiration from the places I go to and I paint them or find a way to artistically communicate my inspiration, it's in a dark way. It's very dark and grim. Maybe I paint about the dark things that I've encountered. Grim. I think I'm going to spell it different though. GRIMM View, VIYU, Grim View. Joining Speaker Dawn by their side was the art god of odd himself, Grim View, an eccentric artist with a heart filled with black fiery passion that fuels his artistry and invigorates his dark side. Okay, this is my second stranger, and similarly to my first stranger, he'll need to be played strategically because there's nothing physically tough about Grim View. I'll have to leverage his mysterious and intimidating personality to get what I want, and utilize the fame and notoriety that comes with that to keep me safe, if you will. So I'm imagining a Cruella de Vil crossed with Edward Scissorhands type of look going on here. He's wearing a very fine clothing with a touch of odd eccentricities, such as cuffs that fold back into pointy ends or what have you. Weird stuff like that. I'll leave that up for your brain to fill in the void there. All right. So we're in front of the, as far as our possessions, I want to do this differently. I decided that instead of rolling for your possessions, based off of what our skill sets are, we will assume that we have the base needs of that skill set. So for example, as a painter, the delay's a little. As a painter, I automatically, it's going to be assumed that I have a paintbrush. I have a knapsack with painting supplies. If I was a painter, I haven't decided on that yet. I don't know if painting is a thing. You know what I mean? Maybe there's better, more interesting ways of being creative in this setting. I'll figure that out as we go. But it will, if I was a painter, I would automatically have a paintbrush. We are adventurers as well. No one would ever go out into the wilderness without a way to defend themselves unless they have bodyguards. Now, if I'm a person who's not a fighter and I am someone who is an artist, would I be out, in the wilderness without protection, whether it be bodyguards, a hired hand? Who's to say? I might ask the question, but why would a painter be in the ruins? Maybe because I want some inspiration. It's likely that I probably would have hired someone. So, I am going to ask if I have any help, but also you are someone who is, from a royal background. It's also not too far-fetched that you would have some, hired help as well. So is there a possibility that you and I, because of us combined in a group together, have some hired hands? There's definitely a possibility. As a matter of fact, I'm going to go ahead and ask. I'm not speaking for you, but I think there is a chance that I will have hired someone to come. The reason I'm not going to just say yes is because there's also a possibility I didn't, and I just am taking a chance to come out and, you know, just trying to explore and draw inspiration and not really be looking for, you know, fighting a horde of goblins or something, you know. So by chance, did I, you know, are we traveling with a hired group? I'm going to say likely. Yes, and so to me that means if it was just you not only have one, but you have two, maybe even three. I'm going to say because both of us together, at minimum, we're going to have. I'm going to roll a d6. 5. Grimview gestures, giving the signal as 5 brawny mercenaries arrive beside Speaker Dawn and Grimview. 2, with the courageous responsibility of carrying his stool and tent. 1, valiantly protecting his art supplies, and the last 2 on point to protect them both personally. The one who has been tasked with carrying Grim's art supplies walks over and hands Grimview a scroll of concepts, to which he begins to flip through the pages in search of scribbling room. I'm looking at this door and I think, I'm drawing inspiration from this door. Is there potential? Is there artistic potential with this door? You know, is this something I could potentially draw inspiration from? I'm going to say 50-50. Yes, but the sand, the rocks around it kind of bogs down, kind of takes away from the beauty of the door. So if I were to sit down and draw inspiration and maybe, you know, draw this door or paint this door, I'll probably leave out the rocks around it. So I'm sitting here and I'm looking at the door and I'm considering I'm taking note of it. I'm hoping that there's some architecture inside of this ruin that's similar to the door. So my goal now is to look for some similar architecture inside of this ruin to draw inspiration from, because I would like to make something to pay tribute to what I've discovered today. Grimview proposes the party takes a breather. The hired hands carrying Grimview's heavier tools wholeheartedly agree, but not before having to set up his station first. It was a frustrating task to get the easel placed just how Grimview wanted. However, they dare not complain, if not for the sake of their pay. Grimview joins Speaker Dawn in indulging in the door's fascinatingly inspiring appeal. Do I hear anything on the other side of the door? Do I hear anything? 50-50. No. And it's very quiet. Do I recognize the design of the door or in the stonework of the ruin? Is it stone? What's around the ruin, around the door? Is it rock? I'm going to say very likely. Yes. What is the door? Is the door made of anything in particular? Is the door also rock? I'm going to say unlikely. No. Does the Speaker Dawn, does Speaker Dawn recognize the stonework? I'm going to say it's going to be high versus below average. I think the difficulty for you for somebody who has history, it's probably going to be low, honestly. I mean, this ain't no lost civilization type stuff. It could be, but it's very unlikely that that's the case. So I'm going to say the difficulty is low. So it's going to be high. Does Speaker Dawn recognize the stonework? That's a good question. That might bring us some that could unravel what kind of tower this is, you know, what we're getting involved with, what we could potentially find. Yes, you recognize the stonework. Speaker Dawn's fingers glide down the warm surface of the door, slowly recognizing the stonework. There was only one ancient civilization known to decorate gigantic doors that could bar out an army of giants. But this was just a hunch. If Speaker Dawn could see more of this structure on the inside, they'd be able to call it with confidence. I imagine that your character, you know, you immediately identify, just by the stonework, you immediately identify this civilization. But when you see it, you immediately recognize the stonework, and you know, you call that out, and you try to recall, you know, what their culture was like. And the question is, you know, if it's guarded, was this a guarded civilization? I'm gonna leave it up to fate and hit it with the 50-50. Yes, and it was highly guarded. It was highly guarded, and so there are probably likely traps in there because it's highly guarded. I would say that the chances of them being known for having, I mean, it would also depend on, I guess, what kind of tower this is. And you would, based off of your, you know, you now knowing what the civilization is, you would probably know what kind of tower this is. Would you know it based off of just the front, what the front of this door looks like? I don't know. What do you think? We could, you know, that could be a skill. Like maybe, you know, you're so skilled at, you know, you're so you know so much about it. Your history roll might be so high that you know so much about it that you can look at the front door and know, oh, this is an armory. Oh, this is a, you know, this was a giant kitchen. So I guess the question now is like, would you be able to tell at the front of what kind of place this would be just by looking at the front door? I mean, you do know that it is a highly guarded civilization. They are known to, I think we'd probably have to explore more, get like one detail about the civ per check. Yeah, maybe more if I do really. Yeah. Okay. Is your character like a history buff? Because, you know, that might be something that would be motivation to also want to, you know, go deeper as well. I'm going to ask you, do you know, just off, you know, maybe by happenstance, do you know if this culture is, do they have a knack like for the arts? Are they an artistic culture? What would you say the odds of that are? Definitely warlike. So since they're so guarded, but maybe they guard some great secret art. Okay. So let's say the odds, let's leave it up to the game and say 50-50. Are they known to have, you know, a love for the arts? They're not known for having a love for the arts. They're not known for that. Doesn't necessarily mean there's nothing in here that is artistic or, you know, maybe a secret stash, like you said. But at least to your knowledge, on a successful roll of their history, you don't recall there being anything about them being, you know, fancying art. So they protect themselves or some treasure. Yeah. So there's also a possibility that someone's already here, which is not good, but that's what we got. That's what we got these guys here for, right? So I'm going to get one of the guards to open up the door. When the door opens, is there anything on the other side of this door worth mentioning? I'm going to say somewhat likely. Exceptional, yes. I'm going to add a new plot point. The theme of this plot point is going to be action. And the plot point is at your mercy. And it involves a player character. Which one of us? I'm going to roll a D3. 1 is going to be you. 2 is going to be me. 3 is going to be our hired guards. 3, the hired guards. So at your mercy, when we open this door, I rolled a new plot point. This is continuing our mission, right? Or continuing our objective. There's a new plot point. There's something that is at our mercy on the other side of this door. Specifically our guards. So that tells me that whatever's at our mercy, it's at their mercy because there's something that they are capable of. Whatever it is it's at the mercy of the guards, it's something only the guards are able to provide, and whatever it is at their mercy. Who knows what that could be? It doesn't necessarily have to be a person, a thing, and that's what we're going to find out now. So is there something on the other side of this door that we see that is at our mercy? I'm going to say near sure thing. Yes. Is it a person? Likely. Exceptional, yes. So I don't know if you're thinking what I'm thinking, but I'm thinking that whatever it is, it's stuck in a trap. Yeah. Are they stuck in a trap? Near sure. I'm gonna say very likely. Yes. Ambiguous event. Abandon / the intellectual. Grim Viyu signals for how many ever guards it takes to open the large door. With a significant amount of effort from 2 of them, we manage to cycle the stone lever far long enough for the giant door to gape. A disturbing, distant moan of someone in peril echoes throughout the structure's visible torchlit rooms. Grim Viyu and Speaker Dawn follow these cries just a few steps in and are led to a collapsed, intentionally designed pit trap, painted in old and new blood. A large, gray-skinned explorer lies in ruin, maimed, and beyond saving at the bottom of this pit, alone and unreachable. The fall had to have been at least 20 feet, and he looked far too delirious and weak to save himself. However alive, he decided to use the last of his willpower to call out to his party, who were nowhere in sight. By the looks of it, they left the poor fellow behind, likely serving his purpose as muscly fodder for traps. Speaker Dawn generously warns the guards about the potential peril. Grim Viyu admires the floral patterns formed by the splashes of blood puddling under the perishing Tomb Raider. The wet blood over dry blood permeating through the ancient sand inspired Grim's vision for a large rug that he's been contemplating creating for the Black Tower. This gray man is only here by himself, stuck in this trap because the rest of his group abandoned him, because he's not the intellectual, which tells me that whatever this group is, they're not a team. They're probably all in it for themselves, you know, no honor amongst thieves, I guess, but they left him. He's at our mercy, which tells me that he can be freed, but is he wounded? I'm gonna say very likely. Exceptional, yes. He's wounded. Random event. Move away from a thread. Overindulge / military. So I'm interpreting that as, you know, this current thread was, you know, the new plot line was encountering this person that was at our mercy, and we're moving away from that thread, which means to me that unless you want to do anything and with this person, we're ready to press on. We're ready to keep it moving. At least that's what our armed guards are suggesting. They're saying, you know, let's not even, you know, look at this dummy. Let's not even worry about this person. Let's keep it moving. We can't help him. He's probably he's too wounded. He's exceptionally wounded. He's too wounded to even care about. He's not a threat. And we much rather indulge. We rather not overindulge in worrying about this person's safety. Yeah, he could be on the cusp of death. I personally am curious as to what kind of trap this is so I can know what to look out for. What do his wounds look like? Nothing we can do for him, but I agree. Let's examine the death traps. Yeah, what do... Efficiently / familiar. So I'm going to interpret that as whatever trap it was clean. And by familiar, I'm going to say cliche in a meta sense. So it's a clean wound, a typical trap wound that is designed to be efficient. So I'm going to say maybe it was some sort of, remember, he's out of reach. It's nothing we can do for him, nothing that we should, you know, get involved with. So maybe it's a pit. Has something been cut off of him? Something been cut off of him? 50-50. Yes, but nothing that would kill him instantly. Maybe he was designed, maybe he was meant to bleed out. So he's been left with an egregious wound designed to be efficient and disable a person. And I'm going to take it a little bit further. I think that it was designed for him to bleed out. And there's some sort of, maybe there are grooves in the floor or wherever the trap is that is capturing the blood. Now, why? I don't know. But you might. Speaker Dawn might know why these traps are capturing this person's blood. Is it his legs? Oh, wait, is it his arm? Oh, both arms. Maybe it was like the trap involved having to do something with both of his hands and it grabbed both of his arms. So is it both of his arms? Maybe his forearms? I'm gonna say likely. Yes.
Speaker Dawn calls Grimview over and points toward the pit. Do you see that? Grimview sees a stream of blood flowing from the perishing gray man's severed forearms and replies, yes. It turns out these people know a little bit about art after all. No, that. Speaker Dawn points again and reveals to Grimview that the victim's blood is draining into a bed of small grooves lined at the pit's edges, capturing copious amounts of blood.
So he's laying there with both of his forearms or arms decapitated. That tells us this civilization was cruel. Yeah. Do I know what the purpose of the blood is? Sacrifice? All right, let's see. High versus... I don't think people would have lived to tell, would have survived to tell about the traps. So I'm going to say the odds of you knowing, I'm going to say the difficulty is below average because of that. I think that I'm assuming that the cruelty of this culture would have been a staple, probably one of the biggest factoids about this culture, which would mean that there would have been more known about it. You know what I mean? Like when you think of, I'm not going to go there, but there's some figures in history and civilizations such as the Mayans. What do we know about the Mayans? They cut people's heads off and threw them down, pyramids and stuff, right? So I think you would have a bonus. I think that would justify having a bonus 1 rank shift to your skill roll here, because this is something that's so egregious, so savage that it would bring attention to it. So the question was, do you know what they would use the blood for? Exceptional, yes. You definitely know. And now we're going to ask your second question. Is it for sacrifice? Is it a blood sacrifice? Let's say likely. Let's say likely. No. It's for something else. And you know what it is. You know what it is. So hold up, let's slow down, because we got to celebrate that exceptional yes.
you know, for potential growth here. So is it to feed something? So if it ain't sacrifice, yo, that's a good question. If it ain't sacrifice, is it to feed something? Let's ask. Good question. I'm almost afraid to ask that though. That means it could be, oh my God. What are we getting involved with? All right, hold on. Let me slow down. Does it feed something? I'm going to say, because it ain't sacrificed, then that's probably going to be a very likely. Does it feed something? Yes. Grimview looks up at Speaker Dawn, who appears troubled, deep in thought, wading through mounds of historic wisdom. Speaker Dawn arrives to a definite conclusion, and somewhat of a scary yet exciting revelation. Speaker tells Grim that the blood is feeding it. Feeding what? A guard shouts from across the room. Grimview points his finger at the guard violently as if it were a sword, and tells him to continue focusing on looking for traps with his fingers and toes. He then turns back to Speaker Dawn and requests just a tiny bit of elaboration. So your character knows what the traps, you know that the traps are, this is a cruel civilization. You know the trap is designed to capture blood and feed something. I mean, that all falls into the question of, you know, that first question you asked, do I know what it is? And yeah, so this is all information that your character is telling us now. We have to figure out what this thing is feeding. Now, I have questions that I want to ask the Meta Black, but I want to slow down in case you have things that you're asking. So take your time. Remember, we currently know this because of your character. This is something your character is telling us. We all walked in here. There's this dude that's at our mercy. He's still alive, but he's bleeding out. Probably not going to be alive long. Bleeding out. Both of his arms are missing because he touched a trap. And I have questions as to what is feeding, but first, I want you to ask if there's anything you want to ask before I ask. And pretty much what I'm going to ask is just to kind of narrow it down to see, you know, is it whatever it's feeding, is it an object that's taking it in? Is it a creature? Is it empowering some sort of ritual? While you're thinking, if you're thinking, I'm gonna ask a question here about the guards. How are the guards reacting to this? Are they all right? You know, you're sitting here telling us spooky stories about the civilization. How are they taking it? Are they all right? Let's see. Are they good? I'm gonna say likely. Are they good? Because we didn't even go inside. We were in the front lobby. Are they good? Yes, they're all right. They're fine. The hired guards don't appear spooked, all except for one. A new recruit within their mercenary band whose place was at the bottom of the totem pole and has been treated as such since the job began. Interestingly enough, he was the largest and bound with the most muscle, though his contemporaries with seniority direct him to the corners of the tomb that look more likely to be rigged with traps. Is it feeding a creature? I'm going to say unlikely. I'm going to say it's unlikely that, because I mean, that would mean if it's living this whole time, it would have to be an ancient creature that had lived this whole time without blood. So let's see. Is it feeding something? Unlikely. No, it's not feeding anything. It's not feeding a living creature or a creature. Is it for some sort of spell? I'm going to say likely. Is it a spell? No. Is it feeding some sort of object?
Very likely. Yes, exceptional, yes. Now that could mean many objects or a very important object. Is this some sort of... Look, my character's looking at you like... Is it an object? So it's an exceptional yes on the object. Is it a... Is it a boon rock? Is it a boon rock? I'm gonna say very likely. Yes.
Speaker Dawn pulls Grim off to the side and begins whispering. Speaker tells him of a time when the fabled boon rocks of the Meta Black weren't just cornerstones of legendary tales echoed throughout taverns. Dawn speaks of incredible histories involving excessive use of their power that brought civilizations to supremacy, as well as crumbling down under their egregious misuse of the power. Grimview was intrigued. Boon rocks were a fringe topic nowadays, though, and frankly, he didn't believe in them any more than all the other mythical bard's tales. Speaker Dawn cracks open a book and points at a symbol within its pages and compares it to the pattern of spikes in the pit, which seemed to take the same shape. Then points to the carvings on the wall, which also resembled the same symbol. A symbol emblematic of the reverence this civilization had for the power they believed this boon rock to hold. Speaker Dawn holds their torch up to the inside of the main door, revealing a larger symbol resembling a rock thrice the size of the men depicted laying around it. He may have discovered something.